Hey YouTube, hey YouTube, hey. So it's a sunny ass day, and I'm wearing my shades, and I'm thinking, I haven't talked about Game of Thrones yet. So now I'm going to talk about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, Season 5, Episode 2, The House of Black and White. Where did it open up? It opened up where, quite frankly, Season 1 should have opened up. With Arya Stark, the badass that will be. The strongest female protagonist outside of anything Joss Whedon's ever given us. Yeah, I said it. Sorry, Katniss. We open up with her coming to Bravos and being left at the House of Black and White, which is just a house in Bravos, which has a black and white door, which seems to be where Jack and the Car's from. He comes to the door. A black guy, an old black man, comes to the door, and Arya's like, "Look, I got this coin. Can I come in?" And he's like, "No." And she goes, "But I got nowhere else to go." You've got everywhere else to go. And then then she just sort of wanders the canal a bit, or she sits outside for like a day and a half in the rain, and then she leaves. And then it kind of called to mind. I'm not the expert on this, but whenever you're trying to convert to Judaism, you have to go to the rabbi like 7 or 8 times. And it's only after you've been refused so many times that they'll admit you. Don't quote me on that, but it's just something I've learned. And then just after she's decapitating a pigeon for her lunch and about to waste some fuckers for looking at her sword the wrong way, black guy shows up again, takes her back to the House of Black and White, and takes off his face and reveals, it's Jack and Hagar, the cool dude, the assassin dude, the faceless assassin from season 2, man. That guy's back, and he's like, "There is no Jack and Hagar. I have no one. Come, girl, that is who the girl must become." And you're like, okay, this is the beginning of her education. This is where it starts. Okay, also in this episode, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in King's Landing. When I say a lot of, it's been very Dorne-centric. This is where we really get introduced to Dorne. This is the country that the Red Viper, Oberyn Martell, was from in the last season. He's, obviously he's dead. We all know that. There's no going over that again. But from Dorne, a message was sent to the Lannisters, just in a little box. A statue of a red viper holding a necklace, a lion necklace, which is Myrcella's necklace. Basically, it's saying, "We have your daughter, bitch." Cersei freaks out. Jaime's like, "All right, look, we'll get her if you want." So he elects to get her, and he recruits Bronn because Bronn's looking forward to the good life now. He's like, "I'm marrying a good lady. I'm going to live in this nice castle. No, trust me, I am. I'm going to live in this nice castle." And then Jaime fucking Lannister shows up and said, "Dude, this was never the case. You were never going to get anything off. If you made a deal with Cersei, that was only going to get broken. I'm sorry, but come with me. I got a thing for you. I'll help you out. There's a bigger payday with this. Don't worry." So that's what happens. Further in King's Landing, furthermore, we see that Cersei is exhibiting, just sort of filling up the small council with sycophants and idiots, just trying to give out positions and power to whoever, just so she can keep people complacent. But her Uncle Kevin, Tywin Lannister's younger brother, can see right through it, and he's like, "Look, you're not the king's hand, you're not the queen, you're the king's mother, okay? You're the queen regent and nothing more. Alright?" He's like, "You would deny the king?" "No, if the king wants me, the king can ask me, but I'm not going to sit here and be another one of your little puppets, alright? I've seen how Joffrey turned out. No, you're mad. I'm out of here." Right on. Kevin knows the crack. Old Kevin Lannister. You can always trust him. Well, I mean, he's always been a background character, but, fair play to him. You can always trust him. Speaking of Dorne, which I was, down in Dorne, we get to go to Dorne, we get to see the water gardens that Oberyn Martell was talking about so much. We see Illyria Sand, Oberyn's sort of bastard paramour. No, it didn't sound right. She's sort of stalking Myrcella, and she comes to visit the Prince Doran, like the ruler of Dorne, and it's like, "Look, we should send that fucking girl back in pieces to the Lannisters. They killed your brother." And he's like, "My brother entered trial by combat and lost. It wasn't murder. It's not worth going to war for." She's like, "Well, the people feel differently. I feel differently. All of his children feel differently." I was like, "Well, that doesn't matter. I'm the king, bitch." I love this guy. I love this guy, Alexander Siddig. I had to Google him. It's just a small scene, and it's very quiet, but he exudes such sort of composure and control, despite being like quite a frail person. I mean, it's mentioned that he suffers from gout and he's not a well man, but he just exhibits such command, and I was like, okay, I could watch this guy for a season. I'm on board with this. They're very on point with their casting, except for maybe Theon's sister, who wasn't great, but usually very on point with the casting. Speaking of which, going back to more of the cast, we see Brienne and Podrick bumping into Sansa and Littlefinger in that one inn that only exists in Westeros that everyone meets up at every now and then. Brienne says, "Look, I swore to protect you. I swore by your mother that I would protect you." Well, she's dead. And Littlefinger just points out, "Look, you swore to Renly," and Sansa points out, "Look, I saw you bow to Joffrey. Why would I ever trust you? You can go now." And Littlefinger's guards try to take her captive, but she busts out and slays the Knights of the Vale because they're douchebags anyway, rescues Pod, and Pod just says, "Look, you found both Stark girls." Side note, why didn't she mention to Sansa, "Oh, by the way, I saw your sister, she's fine, by the way"? No? Okay, whatever. Whatevs. Yeah, anyway. Podrick mentions that, look, you found both Stark girls. That was what you were told to do. You've offered them your protection. They refused it. Job done, dude. Go home. And Brienne's like, "No, she's not safe with Littlefinger. Let's follow her." So they go and follow her. Meanwhile, up at the wall, we see Jon. There's a Jon Snow. This is how the episode should have ended. Okay, this is how it should have ended, like one of those videos. It should have ended with this offer. Stannis meets with Jon Snow and just says, "Look, what did you shoot an arrow in the guy for last week? What was that about?" He's like, "Well, it was an act of mercy. I understand mercy, but I need wildlings in my army." Jon Snow's like, "It's not going to happen." "Well, what about the Northmen?" He's like, "Well, that's not going to happen either. They only follow one." I mean, he opens up a letter, and it's from Maeve Mormont, who's Jorah Mormont's sister and daughter, respectively. And it just says, "We recognize only one king in the north, whose name is Stark." And I'm like, that's a nice wee callback. Fair play. Still got love for the Starks. So, and Stannis is like, "Well, I got a problem here. And the way I see it, I'm a king. You lay your sword at my feet, you come up, I'll name you Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell." And I'm like, yes! Dude! And that's how this episode should have ended, alright? That's everything Jon Snow's ever wanted. To not be the bastard, Ned Stark's bastard, anymore, you know? And that would have been great. Imagine that as like a cliffhanger, like a tease. But then the next scene, Jon says to Sam, "I'm not going to do it." I'm like, "Well, you ruined it." But at the end of that next scene, Jon gets promotion. Jon is voted the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch because he didn't piss his pants whenever there were giants and mammoths at the door, and he didn't get injured and get trawled off either, so he's the only man for the job. So yes, right on. Good for Jon Snow. Getting a promotion. It's good to see when somebody does something good and heroic in this show that they actually get rewarded for their valor. Good, instead of being punished because other people are shits. Furthermore, in Meereen, no, I won't get to Meereen yet. We see Tyrion and Varys travelling down the road. Tyrion is sort of keeping up his promise of drinking himself to death on the road to Meereen. Apparently we learn they're having a pit stop at Volantis as well. And Varys is just explaining how, look, you're better than this, alright? Just stop wallowing in self-pity, man. Get over yourself. You and I will never be kings or rulers, but we're good at what we do. We're good at the power, the manipulation, all that. And we can put that to good use in service of a good ruler. And I know one. Speaking of that one, she's a Marine. And the Sons of the Harpy, this insurgency group that are acting against the Unsullied and in defiance of Daenerys' rule, are killing motherfuckers. Dario Naharis seems to be able to find one pretty easily enough, so fair play to him. And then this guy's taken prisoner. There's a debate over what to do with him. One of these former slaves is like, "Let's just fucking kill him, man. They would have killed me." And Sir Barristan Selmy says, "Look, your father was the Mad King. The Mad King would have executed this man without trial. He was judge, jury, and executioner all in one, and it made him feel powerful. You're not the Mad King, right?" And she basically goes, "No, I'm not the Mad King." So this guy will get a fair trial, which is good. It shows, we want to see Daenerys learning as a ruler because we want her to go to Westeros and just tidy shit up. Unfortunately, just like what happened with the Karstarks and the Lannisters a few seasons ago, the freed slaves go into the prison and just murder this guy. Daenerys is like, look, this guy was awaiting trial. You might have done this in my name, but I didn't tell you to. So she has to execute this guy. That incites a riot when all the former slaves are like, and they're hissing, and that's oddly chilling. And that gets weird. And then there's a riot, and then there's some civil unrest, and she's sort of alone, and you can tell she's kind of like lost and doesn't know what to do. And then Drogon shows up. And then Drogon flies away, which was already spoiled in the trailers for this season. So why end the episode on it? I just... A better episode than the first episode. The first episode was very much about laying the groundwork for the season. We get to see Arya, we get to see Dorne, the Sons of the Harpy storyline. That's gonna just go on and on this season in Meereen as well, so it'll be cool. We all want Tyrion and Varys to meet Daenerys. That's going to go excellently, I'm sure. And yeah, that's the quick recap on Game of Thrones, The House of Black and White. If you like this video, I can't speak anymore. Please click like, subscribe, view, share, and all the usual jazz. And I'll see you when I see you, YouTube.